So I decided to leave my professional basketball career in my prime. And I know what you're probably thinking. Wow, with this tall, strapping, fast running, athletic, high jumping, LeBron in the face looking at, built like a brick house guy decided to leave his career at its height. Nah, I know that's not what you're thinking, but I had to throw it in there. But on a serious note, I was privileged to travel the world, all throughout Europe, the Middle East, and the Far East, playing basketball and getting paid to do so, which was a dream I always had when I was younger. But it reached a certain point in my career where the politics and the nature of the business made me feel unsettled within, and I felt like a disposable pawn on the chessboard. I had a visceral reaction within me where I felt an inner calling to chase something that was larger than myself outside of the game. But my identity was so wrapped up in the sport of basketball that I'd built up all throughout high school, playing Division I, and then my professional career, that I found it very hard to separate and find this new uncertain path I was supposed to go down. For most of my life, my identity was entrenched in sports. As a kid, I grew up playing soccer in Ghana, and then I moved on to play in the UK, where I also played rugby, cricket, and track and field, and really made a name for myself by breaking records before coming to America. At that point, basketball essentially took over, and between the lines, the sport offered me great comfort and solace in a time of confusion, where I was thousands of miles away from home and had to just focus on my inner identity and try to figure out what it was I wanted to accomplish in this life. It was a huge psychological burden for me to let go of this identity and pursue a new path I was unfamiliar with. What kind of person was I about to be? What person was I aiming to be if it wasn't to be a professional basketball player? I was in my prime. I had a few more years to play before retiring. Why was it now that I had to make the move? And the answer became simple. Clinging onto basketball at that point was bringing me a ton of anxiety and misery. During the off season, I was one of those players who had to wait until the last possible moment before finding out where I was going. And although I was putting in an immense amount of work, waking up every morning and working out multiple times a day, I was going back and forth in my head about why teams weren't gung-ho about me as a talent, especially when I played at a very high level the previous season. Typically, if you went somewhere and played really well in average weight stats, then the following year you would get a better team. And everywhere I went, I was amongst the top players in the league, yet the following season, I had trouble getting the deals that I wanted. I had to take a bold step. And it was interesting, I was in a job that was unfulfilling me. A job that many people look up to and admire and expect to be wonderful, where you get paid to travel the world and do what you love. But within me, I was in a state and in a cycle that was bringing me great dissatisfaction. The sport that once ignited a burning flame within me was now associated with a series of unfortunate events and emotional pitfalls. The hardest part for me to break free was because I knew the next step was not going to be smooth. I was now headed down a dark, unknown path where there would be no immediate gratification, but rather a painstaking amount of self-discovery, unlearning, and reprogramming to tap into this new self I was developing. It was a quest for a free existence where I could lead the sport on my own terms rather than being forced out by circumstances beyond my control. There's a lot of fear that's associated with a new venture, whether you're seeking a promotion at a job, transitioning into a new industry, or building a business and starting an entrepreneurial pursuit, where most of the time, this fear holds us back from chasing and living out our true potential. There's a societal emphasis on financial stability equating to success. And a lot of the time, it could be at the expense of you achieving a state of contentment within and self-fulfillment. I was at these crossroads where I was being paid to play the sport that I love, and from the outside, everything looked great to everybody else. But within me, I wasn't feeling fully fulfilled and had to take a leap of faith to find out where that fulfillment was. The decision to leave pro basketball in my prime symbolized me trying to reach for something outside of the athlete identity I'd become accustomed to that was more holistic and created a more meaningful experience for me. It's why it comes as no surprise when we see people who have built companies that are worth millions to billions of dollars speak about money not being everything and still having this inner emptiness, and we're wondering why. You have money. But what happened was they had this false perception associating their happiness with money because that's just a societal narrative. But when they actually reached their goal, they realized this ain't it. There's actually more to life than just getting some paper. This notion of emptiness and unfulfillment within, even at that high level of success, was something I was experiencing at a much lesser level. But it begs the question, what is the meaning of happiness? And what's that free feeling within we're all seeking that most of us who haven't made millions associate with money and success? If it's not that, then what really is it? I would say that this entire idea and conversation highlights the importance of redefining success in your own terms and aligning it with personal values, passions, and a sense of purpose rather than external validation. And I'd reached a point where that was a decision I had to make, and I did it wholeheartedly without looking back.